Welcome to NFL Nexus. Listen, I want you to really prepare yourselves for this one. Because today, we are plunging deep, and I mean absolutely deep, into the brutal, high-stakes, unglamorous reality of the Atlanta Falcons' 2026 trenches. You know, this isn't just about X's and O's on a whiteboard. This is a visceral story of psychological survival, sudden, shocking dominance, and the relentless, unforgiving war of attrition that completely defines the National Football League. Before we step onto that battlefield and break down this cinematic collision of raw talent and absolute tragedy, do me a quick favor. Make sure you subscribe to NFL Nexus, hit the like button on this explainer, and comment down below with your thoughts as we go. And look, if you truly want to support the deep dive, premium analysis we do here every single week, consider supporting the channel by hitting that join button and becoming a channel member. Okay, let's dive into this. Because honestly, the story of the Falcons' front lines is literally one of the most intense, high-stakes dramas unfolding in the entire league today. 735. I want you to just sit with that number for a second. Let it really sink in. 735. Deliver that number in your mind with the heavy, crushing gravity it actually deserves. Because guys, this isn't some random statistic about passing yardage or snap counts or franchise records. No, this is the exact number of days that Braylon Trice has been agonizingly separated from the game of football. For 735 days, he has been nothing more than a ghost on the sideline. Literally a prisoner to his own body, forced to just stand there and watch the sport he absolutely loves go on without him. Imagine that profound isolation, the smell of the freshly cut turf that he wasn't allowed to touch, the deafening, earth-shaking roar of the stadium on a Sunday afternoon while he was locked away in a silent, sterile training room performing the most monotonous, excruciating rehab exercises imaginable. Everything changed in a matter of seconds. It's a phrase we hear a lot, right? But here, it perfectly, tragically illustrates the terrifying fragility of an NFL career. Put yourself in his cleats. Imagine being a 6'4", 274-pound absolute force of nature. You are a highly touted, massively hyped third-round draft pick. You've just helped lead the Washington Huskies to a national championship appearance. You step onto the field for your much-anticipated rookie debut on a sweltering, humid August afternoon in 2024 against the Miami Dolphins. You're feeling absolutely invincible. The adrenaline is pumping. And then, a wrong step, a brutal, awkward collision at the line of scrimmage, the sickening, undeniable pop in the knee, a torn left ACL. Just like that, in a literal instant, the rookie dream is entirely, completely shattered. The stadium lights fade, the adrenaline violently drains away, and the lonely, grueling, excruciatingly painful reality of surgical rehab begins. Let's take a second to slowly walk through this brutal chronology together. It is a timeline of absolute devastation. Look at this. He reaches the absolute pinnacle of college football in January of 2024, the peak of the mountain. Then, 8 short months later, the devastating ACL tear in August 2024. He spends an entire calendar year fighting in the dark, pushing his body and honestly pushing his mind to the absolute breaking point just to get back on the grass. He finally makes it. He makes it to training camp in August 2025. The pads are on, the comeback is real, and then the unthinkable happens. He re-aggravates that exact same knee. It's like a nightmare you can't wake up from. Back to the operating table, back to injured reserve, another entire season completely erased before it even begins. The immense, crushing psychological toll of back-to-back season-ending setbacks before ever playing a single regular season snap, it is almost unimaginable. Most men would absolutely break under that kind of weight. Most careers would quietly, tragically end right here, forgotten in the transaction logs.
But Trice didn't break. He didn't quit. And crucially, he wasn't alone in that darkness. When the game has been taken away from you for so long, it's like, now what? That quote, that comes directly from Falcons outside linebackers coach John Timu. And the profound empathy in those words, that is quite literally what kept a career alive. You see, Timu and Trice, they share a deep pre-existing bond that dates all the way back to 2019 at the University of Washington. Back then, Timu was just a graduate assistant and Trice was an unproven freshman trying to find his way. In the cold, unforgiving, cutthroat business of the NFL, having a coach who truly knows your heart, who's been intricately tied to your personal journey for years, is a literal lifeline. It's a game changer. Timu became that accessible, stabilizing force. He was the anchor helping Trice navigate the absolute darkest mental corridors of his lengthy recovery, especially in those quiet moments when the doubt threatened to completely consume him.
And all of that suffering, all of that waiting, it brings us to August 14th, 2026, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Denver Broncos are coming to town, and for the very first time in over 2 long, grueling years, a fully healthy Braylon Trice, wearing that number 48, finally returns to the edge. The anticipation inside that building is absolutely electric. You can feel it in the air.
At 274 pounds, Trice doesn't just play the defensive end position, he offers a terrifying, overwhelming blend of size, leverage, and sheer violence on the edge that this Falcons defense has been so desperately missing. We're talking about a guy who has the raw, unadulterated power to lock out an offensive tackle, violently shed the block with incredibly heavy hands, and completely suffocate the running game right there in the C-gap. He isn't just returning to survive out there, no way. He is returning to punish the run and finally, at long last, unleash the immense physical potential that has been caged up for 735 days. Part 1. The Batman Voice. Now, while Trice's story is this incredible saga of agonizing survival and resurrection, the other side of this defensive front is defined by something entirely different. We're talking about sudden, overwhelming, undeniable dominance. Let's shift our focus to the emerging alpha of the Falcons defense, a player who didn't just join the team, but literally conquered at the second he walked through the doors. He's got this voice, this Batman voice that everyone is ready to follow. I absolutely love the cinematic nature of this quote from Coach Tumu. I mean, think about what that implies in an NFL locker room. This is a room filled to the brim with grown men, multimillionaire veterans, and physical freaks of nature, right? For a 22-year-old kid to walk into that hyper-competitive alpha dog environment and instantly command absolute respect, that takes an aura that simply cannot be faked. It can't be taught. Jalon Walker doesn't just play linebacker. He commands the field with an imposing Bruce Wayne-like authority. When he speaks, the entire defense aligns. When he barks out a pre-snap assignment, the unit moves as one living, breathing organism. It is truly something to witness. So you gotta ask yourself, where exactly does a 22-year-old get that kind of immense, magnetic, gravitational pull? Well, Walker's leadership isn't forced. It is bred directly into his DNA. He is the son of Curtis Walker, a highly respected, veteran college football coach. While other kids were sitting around watching cartoons on Saturday mornings, Walker was sitting in dark film rooms, meticulously breaking down offensive line protection schemes and deciphering complex quarterback audibles. He was forged in the absolute fires of SEC championship football, winning a national title under the insanely demanding, perfectionist eye of Kirby Smart at Georgia. Selected 15th overall in 2025, he didn't just talk the talk when he got to the league. He walked it immediately. We're talking 36 tackles and 5.5 sacks in a stellar rookie campaign that put him right in the thick of the Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation. The pedigree is just undeniable. And here's the thing. Walker's arrival wasn't just some great feel-good individual storyline. It triggered a massive seismic shift for the entire franchise. 57 sacks. That is the franchise record number of sacks the Atlanta Falcons defense violently racked up in 2025 under defensive coordinator Jeff Orbrich. And if you sit down and really look at the tape, Walker's terrifying mix of explosive first-step speed and raw power off the edge became the ultimate catalyst for all of this. He literally forced opposing offenses to completely change their slide protection rules. Centers and guards were panicking, having to constantly shift their attention outward just to stop Walker. And what did that do? It left Atlanta's defensive tackles in incredibly favorable one-on-one matchups on the interior. It was a domino effect. Walker was the match that ignited a historically dominant pass rush for the Falcons. And let's look at how that constant, suffocating pressure directly translates to actual winning football. When we look at the most critical down in the entire sport, third down, the shift is completely dramatic. I mean, this right here is where games are won and lost, period. In 2024, the Falcons were just bleeding out on the field, allowing a 45.3% conversion rate. That ranked them an abysmal 31st in the league, basically dead last. But then, in 2025, with Walker's edge pressure consistently collapsing pockets, violently forcing quarterbacks off their spots, and creating sheer panic in the backfield, they dragged that conversion rate all the way down to 39.9%. They rocketed up to 17th in the NFL. That isn't just a minor statistical bump. That is the literal difference between a defense that stays on the field totally exhausted for 15 play drives and a defense that violently hands the ball right back to its offense. Part 2. Reshaping the offensive line. But as we all know, football is a game of two trenches. And as we transition the story across the line of scrimmage, we find a vastly different, far more desperate reality. Because while the defense is out there finding its alphas and setting franchise records, the Falcons' offensive line is fighting a brutal, terrifying battle against attrition. In the NFL, attrition takes absolutely no prisoners. It does not care about your brilliant scheme, it doesn't care about your high-priced quarterback, and it certainly doesn't care about your championship aspirations. The Falcons' offensive line room was completely rocked by sudden, devastating shakeups. Storm Norton, a vital, crucial piece of their depth, remains out with a lingering stubborn ankle injury that has plagued his mobility for over a year. And even more shockingly, nobody saw this coming, veteran Caleb McGarry was forced into a sudden retirement due to severe knee issues that erased his entire 2025 season. It sent absolute shockwaves through the league ecosystem. You simply can't replace starting caliber tackles off the street. You just can't. And just like that, the entire right side of the offensive line was plunged into absolute chaos. Which leads us directly to the brand new starting five for 2026. You've got Jake Matthews at left tackle, Matthew Bergeron at left guard, Ryan Nuzul at center, Chris Lindstrom at right guard, and Jalon Taylor stepping in at right tackle. This unit isn't just blocking. They are the absolute last line of defense. And what makes their job incredibly unique and honestly highly complex this season is that they are protecting left-handed quarterbacks. That completely flips the biomechanics of the pocket. Think about it. The right side is no longer the strong side. It is now the blind side. Think about the crazy footwork required for the right tackle now. Normally, he's run blocking, attacking downhill. Now, he's taking the deepest, fastest pass set kick steps imaginable. He has to completely flip his hips, change years of ingrained muscle memory, and perfectly match the absolute fastest, most bendy edge rushers in the world while rapidly retreating on an island. The stakes for this specific group of 5 men could not possibly be any higher. But amidst all of this swirling chaos, there is one immovable mountain: 195. That is the staggering, almost mythical active streak of consecutive starts by left tackle Jake Matthews. Since being drafted 6th overall way back in 2014, he has missed exactly one game. Just one. I want you to really think about the sheer physical toll of the offensive line. Playing left tackle in the NFL is literally the equivalent of getting to a minor car crash 60 times a game every single Sunday for over 10 years. It's insane. In the most physically violent position group in all of professional sports, Matthews has been an absolute Iron Man, the unquestioned, unbreakable anchor of this franchise. His play might not make the flashy, primetime Sunday night highlight reels, but his relentless, steadfast consistency is the concrete foundation upon which this entire offense is built.
Moving inside, let's dive really deep into the granular details of this interior core, which has quietly become a sheer force of nature. At left guard, you have the massive 315-pound Matthew Bergeron. And look, he is playing with the fiery, desperate intensity of a man in a contract year. He knows exactly what's at stake. A life-changing payday is on the line. Then at right guard, you have the absolute gold standard, Chris Lindstrom. 4 straight Pro Bowls, an absolute technician with his hand placement, right in the prime of his career. But the truly fascinating piece of this puzzle is at center, with breakout star Ryan Nuzul. Guys, he played over 1,000 snaps last year and allowed exactly 1 sack. 1. And here's the micro detail that matters so much. Nuzul is left-handed. Now, when a right-handed center snaps the ball, he naturally rotates the laces slightly in one direction. A lefty quarterback then has to awkwardly adjust his grip mid-drop back, wasting a tiny fraction of a second. But Nuzul's left-handed snap naturally angles the laces perfectly for a lefty quarterback's grip. Boom, ready to throw. In the NFL, a fraction of a second saved on the exchange is literally the exact difference between a beautiful touchdown bomb and a devastating game-ending strip sack fumble. It's a massive advantage. But then we move over to the right tackle position, and this right here is where the massive, terrifying tension lies for the entire 2026 season. We have a wildly dramatic contrast. On one hand, you have Jalon Taylor. He's a massive man with genuine Super Bowl pedigree from his time with the Kansas City Chiefs. He knows exactly what championship football looks like, smells like, and feels like. But on the other hand, you have the devastating reality of his on-field discipline. 83 career-accepted penalties, leading the entire NFL, totaling a staggering 460 negative yards. Picture the scenario in your head. The offense puts together a grueling, physical, brilliant 15-play drive. They finally get down to the red zone. It's 3rd and 4. The crowd is roaring. And then a yellow flag flies, holding on the right tackle. The entire drive is instantly erased. Those 460 negative yards are absolute, undeniable drive killers. And remember, with a lefty quarterback, Taylor is now out there protecting the blind side. It is without a doubt the biggest, most glaring question mark on the entire roster. The Falcons front office, they knew they couldn't just close their eyes, cross their fingers, and blindly hope for the best. They had to act. Taylor was signed to a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal. And importantly, it came with 0 guaranteed money. 0.
In the cutthroat NFL, a contract with zero guarantees is the front office essentially looking a player in the eye and telling them, "We can cut you tomorrow morning without a single penalty against our salary cap." That unique, deeply unforgiving contract structure forced general manager Ian Cunningham into executing a sudden, highly necessary contingency move. They knew they couldn't walk into the regular season with absolutely zero depth at the most crucial, terrifying spot on the offensive line. They needed a safety net, and they needed it immediately. And that brings us to the brilliantly executed Wanya Morris trade. Acquired directly from the Kansas City Chiefs, Morris brings 16 highly valuable career starts to Atlanta, primarily gained during an absolute trial by fire in the 2024 season. He is the ultimate swing tackle insurance policy. And let me tell you, being a swing tackle is arguably the hardest, most thankless job on the entire 53-man roster. You have to be ready at a literal moment's notice to play either left or right tackle. You have to instantly flip your stance, completely flip the playbook in your brain, and entirely reverse years of muscle memory, all based on one rolled ankle by a starter. It's wildly difficult. If Juwan Taylor's penalty demons resurface, if those brutal yellow flags start flying and killing promising drives, the Falcons now have a battle-tested, versatile veteran ready to immediately step in. It is a shrewd, deeply calculated move to protect the most vulnerable point of their armor. Part 3. Winning in the Trenches, the final verdict. As we draw this deep dive explainer to a close, you really have to step back and look at how all these massive narratives interlock. The fates of Braylon Trice fighting for his football life, Jalon Walker stepping into unbelievable dominance, and this hastily reshaped offensive line, they are all tied into one overarching, brutal battle for survival. Because let's be honest, football games aren't decided on the perimeter. They just aren't. They are won and lost in the dark, suffocating warfare of the trenches. And there is one final, massive chess piece on the board here. Legendary offensive line coach Bill Callahan has taken command. Known for his brutal, absolute, unforgiving coaching style, Callahan is tasked with forging this mismatched unit into a lethal weapon. His methods, they are legendary in league circles. He will literally tie his linemen's hands behind their backs during pass protection drills, forcing them to survive against elite pass rushers using pure footwork and core strength alone. It's wild. He demands independent hand strikes rather than lazy two-handed punches that leave a lineman off balance. He is the exact right man to fix Juwan Taylor's sloppy technique and totally maximize the prime years of this interior core. He is setting the stage for a truly ruthless campaign. Which leaves us with the ultimate lingering question that will completely define the Atlanta Falcons' 2026 season. Will this rebuilt frontline, operating under the brilliant, brutal mind of Bill Callahan, actually be able to protect their left-handed quarterbacks from the blind side? And on the other side of the ball, will the Batman himself, Jalon Walker, and a fully healthy, totally vindicated Braylon Trice absolutely dominate the edges on third downs? The stage is set for a truly cinematic season in Atlanta, and the tension is palpable. I want to know exactly what you guys think. Drop your boldest predictions down in the comments right now. And remember, if you want to stay ahead of the game with more deep dive explainers just like this one, you need to subscribe to NFL Nexus. Hit that like button on this explainer and click join to become a channel member today to support what we do. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the trenches.